A healthy soil has many mysteries. To learn what some of those are, I took a trip down to San Diego to meet with Dr. Craig Kalaji and learn about the best kept secret of healthy soil.
I just loved being outdoors. I always had. I just felt fully alive, and I said, well, I went to Cal Poly again, and I took my first class in nematology, and I realized I could be a doctor that worked outside with plants.
What do we mean when describing soils and gardens as healthy?
Yeah, that's not only a great question, it's a very important question, because if you ask most people what a healthy garden is, they may even go and say, well, it's a garden that has healthy soil. So now all of a sudden we're talking about something that most people think of as inert, non-living. But actually, a healthy soil is a soil that functions as a living ecosystem. And that's what we mean when we say a plant or a garden is healthy, is that everything is functioning and all of these organisms and that livestock in the soil, and it truly is livestock. Another term they use for it is the soil food web, the network of living organisms in the soil that are releasing and making available to the plant what it needs to be healthy and energetic and produce what we hope it will produce to support us. You cannot have healthy plants if you don't have the healthy soil to support the development of that plant. Think of soil almost as if the gut, if you will, of the plant.
What is a balanced environment, and what is the importance of us understanding our role in helping to create that balance?
Yeah, it all starts with us recognizing, first of all, that that soil is the very mother of life on this planet. Without soil, we're not here. We don't make it. So then we start looking at a healthy soil, we start looking at the life in the soil. We need to educate, and when I say educate, I'm talking at the gardener level, not at the university level. I'm talking about the elementary school level, to teach children that from the earliest age that what's going on underneath in a world that we can't see, right? Almost an invisible world. There are things going on there that we are dependent upon for our very survival. So we have an obligation as responsible eaters of what earth and what the soil produces to understand that world, that life in the soil, and how we can foster it.
Okay, Doc, next question. What is a nematode, and how do I use it to make my soil healthy?
That's a great question, because I suspect most people wouldn't be able to answer it. And the fact is that the nematode, which means thread-like, or nema means thread. There are worms, roundworms, at a microscopic level, the size smaller than your eyelash, that are translucent. You can see through them. They're transparent. They have no need for pigment because they live in the soils. They also live in every ecosystem on the planet Earth, and they are the most multicellular animal by far of any organism on the planet Earth. For every human being on the planet, there exists 58 billion nematodes for every human on the planet. So these little microscopic worms, if I was a little elementary, I'd say there are worms in the soil that you can't see that are actually cycling energy that allows you to live, eat, and thrive on this planet. And by understanding that, we can then use these microorganisms, these little worms, to solve all kinds of problems, including insect pests.
Okay, so then as a home gardener wanting to understand nematodes, what's the difference between a beneficial nematode and one that's not?
The beneficial nematode is one that, if you're a gardener, your goal is to grow a healthy plant. It's one that's not only not extracting energy from that plant through feeding on its root systems typically, that's a plant parasitic nematode, to one that's feeding on that bad guy that wants to take that energy from that root system and that plant and away from you. So you're trying to shift the balance of energy, if you will, in that soil from one where the plant gets the energy and the bad guy, the pathogen, doesn't. So if you don't have any of these beneficial nematodes working for you, you now have the capability, due to good science, to actually introduce, populate that soil, and then feed that soil. They need moisture, so one of the things you do with beneficial nematodes is you water, and you water right away, because they need that moisture to thrive and to do what they do, which is they swim. They actually swim on the surface of soil. They slither around at a microscopic level, and that's how they find all those grubs in that. They're actually swimming on a film of water. Without the water, they can't move. So the mobility of the beneficial nematode in the soil depends on you making sure that you're caring for your garden and doing everything that the organization that sold you, the company that sold you that beneficial nematode, they give you instructions, not only on how to introduce the beneficial nematodes into the environment, but how to care for them. That's working with nature. The best kept secret of having a healthy soil is feeding the living organisms in the soil, in this particular case, beneficial nematodes. Not only feeding them, but introducing them.
Why do you think people don't really know about nematodes?
They're invisible to the naked eye. Honestly, what we don't see, we don't know. Because oftentimes we don't even visually know that there's a problem or that something's happening. And nematodes, being the most multicellular animal on the planet Earth by far, is an exact example of a form of life that our entire existence depends upon, that we don't know exists.
So we should think of nematodes as like livestock?
All life in the soil is livestock, all of it. And that biodiversity, we want a lot of biodiversity, so no one single organism gets out of hand, so that all of these organisms together as a community are keeping other populations of organisms in check. So it's a little bit of something is a good thing, but when it's all one way or the other, when we get an imbalance, maybe we should look at what the word imbalance means. Imbalance means one organism benefits at the extreme expense of another organism, and in many cases completely eliminates it, takes it out. Some of those insects can do that. The introduction of a beneficial nematode will restore that balance. So we share our environment with all these microbes, right? And with fleas, and with other organisms. And all we're trying to do is live at peace, right? Kind of everyone getting a little bit. I don't mind an occasional flea bite. I just don't want them all over my legs, you know. I can probably live with a little bit, but I can't live with a lot.
So, Doctor, what I've been learning is that when you try to eliminate pests with chemicals, it's not actually very effective. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. When I was in grad school, there was a lot of emphasis on chemical control of nematodes. And we'd literally nuke the soil. You just fumigate it and knock that population down. What we were also knocking down were the beneficials. And what we found is we'd create a biological vacuum, so that if the pathogenic nematode was reintroduced, and oftentimes they had ways of surviving, even fumigation. They may hide inside of a piece of organic material that the fumigant couldn't kill it. And then after the fumigant leaves and you've wiped out all the beneficials, like the beneficial nematodes, what comes out of that? That parasitic nematode, that plant parasitic nematode, and it has no competition. And so it explodes. So you have inadvertently made the problem worse.
Okay, Doctor, so I see the benefits of nematodes. How can I incorporate them in my garden to take care of pest insects?
Well, home gardeners, and truthfully anyone that's interested in controlling pests in their home environment, or even a commercial environment for that matter, there are now tools available that are prepackaged that allow you to introduce these organisms into your environment with very specific instructions, not only on how to do it, but how to manage it once you've applied it. It's real important that there's both a way of processing the material and introducing it and giving that organism what it needs to do the job that you are hoping it'll do. If you can't use all the material in there, you can actually refrigerate it and store it to keep it. Yeah, if you cannot use all of what's in here, because this will treat a considerable amount of property, of land, of soil. If you can't use it all at once, you can refrigerate it, and there are instructions on how to do that so you get maximum value from it. But I can tell you right now, when I was studying nematology way back in the late 70s, this didn't exist. We were doing research at the University of California on the biology and how to work it, how to do the formulations, how to maintain and process and implement and apply these types of tools for pest management. But they didn't exist. So what we did is we used heavy chemicals and we damaged the soil because that's what we understood at the time. Well, we've evolved. We've grown through really credible research, and it's hard for me, honestly, to comprehend that I could take a box of this material, of these living organisms, literally, and following some simple instructions, literally reintroduce into my soil environment a biological control that solves my problem for me. That I can work truly with nature by simply working with something as simple as beneficial nematodes. And so you want to work with nature? It's a great place to start. And you'll learn so much, and you'll also gain a real appreciation for just what working with nature can do for you when you engage and use a tool like this. So this is an amazing breakthrough, honestly, in pest control. And we're just getting started. There's a massive amount of research. You're going to see more and more of this. But this is a fantastic place to start.
It turns out one of the best kept secrets for a healthy soil is the life in the soil itself. Beneficial nematodes help bring balance to the ecosystem in the soil by preying on pest insects. I can't wait to go home and try them in my own garden. It was such an opportunity to meet Dr. Kalaji and see his wonderful expertise on how beneficial nematodes can make our gardens beautiful and thrive in a healthy, organic way.